And we're back for more. We are going to do our health. So page 8 in your health books. I had you do your comprehension check yesterday. So I hope that you filled that in. Don't fill it, well, you can fill it in now, but I really hope that you filled it in before I give the answers because I wanted you to think those through. So number 1, a blank is something you do without thinking. Yes, we talked about that a lot yesterday. A habit is something you do without thinking. Some of you, when you sit, you don't think. You just kind of sit and plop your feet up or whatever. We don't think about that. When we stand up, we don't think, oh, I'm standing a certain way. We just do, okay? So remember, a habit is something you do without thinking. Think of Miss Monroe with her thumb in her mouth when I was a little girl, which is not good. Number 2, blank is the way you hold your body when you sit, stand, or move. Posture, very good. So posture is not just for standing, we said. It's also for when you're sitting. It's also for when you're moving around. And we talked about our sitting posture yesterday. How does having good posture help your body? How does having good posture help your body? Right, first of all, so you can go back all of those points on page 6, how it helps you to stay alert. It helps you to have your organs in the proper place so that they're not too crowded. Your blood can circulate through your body. It helps you feel more comfortable. All of those different things that it talked about, your weight is being supported. You can sit, stand without becoming tired. All of those are good things that you could have put for that. So hopefully you figured some of those out. It keeps your organs from being crowded together. It helps your bones to grow properly. It helps you to be supported properly. Any of those things that you could have written from page 6. Then your blank, blank, and blank should be in a straight line when you sit, right? Remember we said your ear, your shoulder, and your hip should be in a straight line when you're sitting down. So even when you lean forward, we lean forward from the hip, not lean forward like this, because now my ear is here, my shoulder's back here, and my hip is all the way back here, and they're not in a straight line. So even when we lean forward with a straight back, so our ear, our shoulder, and our hip are all aligned. So just, it's easy to keep, okay? Then your toes should always be pointing right forward. We don't want them pointed out or pointed in. That's not really healthy for our feet. So we want the toes pointed forward. And that's, of course, if you can reach the floor. Some of you, I know, we still can't reach the floor, and it's okay because you're just fun size and maybe not regular size yet, but fun size is always better, right? So it's okay. Miss Monroe's not that super tall, so it's okay. So we talked about sitting correctly yesterday. Today we're going to talk about standing correctly. Your feet have a big job. They have to support your entire body when you stand, walk, and run. Strong foot bones help you to have good standing posture. The bones of your feet are arched for most people. Not for Miss Monroe. My feet are as flat as anything, and that's why sometimes I have to sit down in class because my feet hurt so badly because they're totally, completely flat. I have no arch. You're supposed to have a nice little arch to kind of cushion. I don't have that arch. That's why my feet hurt. But anyway, the bones of your feet are arched so that they give support to your body. If the arches of the feet lose their proper shape, the feet become flat, and walking or standing for a long time causes pain. Yep, that's me. So you can see there the toes are on the ground, and then your ball of your feet are right behind the toes, and then there's that nice little arch, and then is your heel. Okay, so think of this as like the toe part, and then there's the ball of your foot right here, right behind your toes, and then you have the arch, and then the heel of your foot, okay? Some people are born with flat feet, and others develop them by wearing shoes that do not fit well. walking with the toes pointed outward instead of straight ahead, or not getting enough exercise and nourishing food to build strong bones and muscles. Oh yes, okay, sorry. I was trying to figure out how that sentence all went together. I stopped, so that's why. So some people are born with flat feet and others develop them by wearing shoes that do not fit well, walking with toes pointed outward instead of straight ahead, or not getting enough exercise and nourishing food to build strong bones and muscles. A person with flat feet should wear shoes with special arch supports. If you are standing correctly, now we're going to learn our proper standing, which is going to be very similar, which should make sense, to our sitting posture. If you're standing properly, then your ears, shoulders, waist, but now we're going to go all the way down to our knees and our ankles should all be in a straight line when you look at them from the side. So have your parents come and have you stand and have them hold like a yardstick or something and have them hold it to the side and see as you're standing, because if your ears here or your back waist is here or up like this, then you're not in a straight line. You want to be in a straight line from ear to shoulder to waist to knees to ankles, and that's very important. So when you are standing correctly, you are standing tall. Pretend that you are trying to touch the ceiling with the top of your head. Okay, so that's an interesting thought. So if you are standing correctly, you're standing where you're like, oh, I'm going to touch the ceiling. And if you look at even how I just changed my posture, I'm standing decently, but when I think about my head touching the ceiling, I just made myself a little bit taller actually, okay? Because that is going to help me to think, to stand properly. Your back and shoulders should be held the same way they are when you are sitting. Your knees should be slightly bent. Don't lock your knees back. That's a bad habit that some people have. Make your knees slightly bent, and your feet should be about shoulder width apart with your toes pointed forward. Now, going back to the knee thing, when you guys get married someday, the minister's probably going to remind you, don't lock your knees, because people have fainted because they lock their knees so tight. But it's also good even when you're doing concerts, when you're up at the concerts and you're standing and singing for everybody, you have to be careful not to lock your knees. Locking your knees just causes a lot more tension, I think, and then people have been known to faint because of that. So keep your knees slightly bent, your toes straight forward. Your weight should be on the balls of your feet instead of on your heels, and definitely should not be on your toes. Sometimes people kind of walk on their toes. That's not good. It's not good for your arches of your feet. So your weight should be on the balls, that part right behind the toes, should not be on the heel, should not be on the toe, okay? So it shouldn't be here, but it should be right here. And that's where your weight should be supported. And then let your arms relax at your sides. That's one of the reasons why people think that having good posture is so hard, because they're like, no, it's not doing this. You're not, being a soldier, you still have your arms relaxed at your sides, but you just are standing up straighter, okay? Now, walking correctly. The first key to walking correctly is your shoes. Have you ever tried to walk around your house in your parents' shoes? It is hard to do. Shoes that are the wrong size or do not have enough support will make it hard for you to walk correctly. Tight shoes may cause poor posture because they do not allow your bones to grow correctly. Shoes that are too large may cause blisters, and you're the only ones that can tell your parents. I remember my mom would get frustrated going, you have to tell me, is it pinching, is it hurting? And I'm like, no, they're fine. And then I get home and I'm like, oh, they hurt. And she's like, you're supposed to tell me at the store, so we wouldn't have bought them. So you have to tell your parents if they're pinching, because your toes can grow incorrectly just because your shoes are not big enough and they're not wide enough or whatever. If they're too big, that's also really bad for your feet. So don't let them be too big or too small. The second key to walking correctly is your posture. If you stand correctly, then you can walk correctly. Your back should be straight and your arms relaxed. Lift your feet as you walk so you do not slide or shuffle. Let me tell you, that is one of Miss Monroe's big pet peeves when, and I can't do it because I have rug here, I have carpet here, but oh, that makes me crazy. So pick up your feet when you walk. Don't shuffle or slide your feet along. Try balancing a book on your head while you are sitting correctly. And then see if you can stand up and walk around the room while keeping the book balanced. I meant to get one of my books. So excuse me as I walk out of frame for a minute. But you should be able to put, oh, can you see me still? Okay. You should be able to have a book on your head, seated. Wow, Miss Monroe in her English right now. Seated, and then you should be able to stand up and walk around the room with that book staying on your head without being stiff and like it's not doing this. Oh, I think I'm good. No, you should be able to walk normally. If you have proper posture, you should be able to be seated, get up, and walk around while keeping that book balanced. So I want you to try that. See if you can do that at home and are able to walk around without being too stiff and without being too like, oh, I gotta sit and stand and walk. And no, just it should be very comfortable. But that's a good way of practicing good posture. Can you stand up and walk around the room while keeping the book balanced? If you are walking correctly, you should be able to keep the book balanced and still be relaxed. Although many things can affect your posture, good or bad posture is usually a habit. What's a habit? Something you do without thinking. Very good. Poor posture can become good posture. And that's what, like I told you, my fiend, Mrs. Hovey, her sister, Mrs. Parker, she said, because I saw my mom getting old with her arthritis and hunched over, I decided I've got to start walking and standing and doing a better job. And so I just started practicing and making myself do that. And she has some of the best posture that you could ever imagine. So work at improving your posture until it becomes a habit to sit tall, stand tall, and walk tall. I mean, God made us. We should be proud of who we are. And we ought to, instead of slouching and walking like this, we ought to be standing tall and proud and being grateful for our bodies. You will look better. People will respect that. Your mind will be more alert and you will have a feeling of being able to do your best at work and play. Do you walk correctly? Have a friend or your parents, your sister or brother. They might not be as nice to you as they should be. Watch as you walk. Are your hands at your side? Are your toes pointed outward or straight ahead? Are your back and head straight? Do you slide or shuffle your feet? Try to correct the mistakes that your family points out to you. Okay, that's important. So now posture for work and play. You probably don't think, oh, this is getting long. So I think I'm going to do this next couple pages on another video. Sorry about that, guys.